Heroin dealers in Delaware can now be charged with murder for overdoses thanks to a brave and grieving mother. This is the Delaware Way. Welcome to the Delaware Way. I'm Larry Menti. We're a couple of weeks now away from an historic election. Looking back at what happened is Charlie Copeland, chairman of the Republican Party in Delaware. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Larry, thank you.
I would imagine this is kind of bittersweet for you because you didn't really make many inroads in the state, but now you've got a federal government that is run by the Republican Party.
Yeah, so that is great news for me, right? I mean, that you know, we've got a president, we got Congress, and the numbers are tight enough that maybe it keeps some of the bad ideas from percolating up. But I actually will say in Delaware, we picked up one state Senate seat, and that chamber is now 11-10, and there will be a special election sometime in February that'll be for the balance of that chamber. So that chamber is actually in play, and if we win that, that'd be the first time we've had it since 1972. So over the last 8 years, during the Obama term, we went from 5 state senators to 10 state senators and are now one short of controlling that chamber.
How much does it help you that now you have a Congress that is Republican in both houses and you also have a president that's Republican? How does that help you in the state?
I think it helps in a couple of ways, and that is that the way the parties are sort of structured, right, when you're out of power, it is much more difficult for the national party to reach out to states that aren't battleground key states. And Delaware clearly is not a key battleground state. I mean, there are only 4 or 5 states in which both the governor and both chambers of the House are controlled by Democrats, and Delaware is one of those 4 states. So, but now that you've got the president, the party itself has an opportunity to sort of do some more stuff, right? Because the power of the president is pretty potent. So we're looking forward to perhaps some help there.
When you say do some more stuff, you don't mean statewide. You mean nationally, right?
Well, no, I mean, one of the things that people kept saying about this presidential election is that Trump doesn't have this get out the vote operation, doesn't have the data operation. He's not going to be able to do this. And that's right, he did not. But the RNC did. It was a very different business model. On the Democrat side, the candidates build their organization, their infrastructure. Barack Obama did it. Hillary Clinton did it. On the Republican side, Reince Priebus said, we're going to do that. We're going to do that at the party level, and we're going to have people on the ground starting in 2013. So actually, in Ohio and Florida and places like that, the RNC has been building out an infrastructure for 4 years. And that was then brought into play once we had our nominee. And they now have the opportunity to help states like Delaware start to build those things out.
Who are the rising stars and how do you win? How do you retake back some of what you've lost in the past?
So in this most recent election, we really did focus on some state Senate races. We had 4 in particular. We had these 4 young millennial candidates whose average age was only 1 year larger than the average tenure of the Democrat they were running against. This 32 years versus these Democrats have served for 31 in aggregate. And so there's a James Spadola, Anthony Del Colo, who just won. He beat the Senate pro tem, Patty Blevins, in a district route number 3-1. He beat her in that district. She's the most powerful person in the Senate, or was. Wow. We have Carl Pace, who's down in southern Newcastle County, and Meredith Chapman, who is in the Newark area. And those 4 are just young, vibrant millennials, very different. They're different kind of Republican, very much more libertarian, tech savvy. And I think we're going to see a lot of them and some others who are in that same sort of niche, who are in slightly different districts, who in 2018, when you have a lower turnout kind of a number situation, that may inure to our benefit.
It seems like every conversation about the future of the Republican Party goes to Ken Simpler. Right. Every time there's a conversation, does he have any appetite for running for any other office?
I think that he does, but I think he's also, he's an astute guy, he's a smart guy, and he knows how to read the tea leaves. And so I think he's probably sitting back going, I don't need to make any calls for 2018. We're just, a couple of weeks out of an election. So let me see how things unfold, how the administration starts to move. What happens here in Delaware? I mean, Governor-elect John Carney has got a tiger by the tail. He's facing a $300 million deficit on his first day in office. At the same time, you got a city of Wilmington with a new mayor who wants to do all this stuff, and there's no money there either. So, they've got, Ken Simpler has some time to see how does that play out.
You had a Democratic administration, as you said, both houses and the governor, and they had inroads into the federal government. And I'm not sure if they benefited over that, but I would assume they did over the last couple of years. That's gone now. That's absolutely gone. Does Delaware suffer because of that?
Well, I think Delaware Democrats suffer because of that.
Well, how does the state suffer?
No,
because
I don't believe so.
Your funding doesn't get cut to Delaware?
They may not have access to some bigger pools, but I don't think you see anything get cut. So if you're Governor Carney coming in and you got a $300 million shortfall, you know, it's a 7-8% deficit, you're just looking at you right in your face. If you had a Vice President Biden, you could make a phone call and say, hey, could you find me some stuff? And they piece some things together, find 50 million here and whatever. You don't have that lifeline anymore. And so now you've got the regular, you know, and most of what Delaware actually spends comes through federal programs. We spend about $9 billion, even though our budget is about $4 billion. But so you're still going to have that $5 billion, but you're not going to have any incremental excess that you can go find, because that's going to go to places like Wisconsin and Ohio and Michigan, those places that, frankly, were the key, you know, sweet spot for President-elect Trump.
What do you make of the media coverage post-Trump election? I saw the News Journal, and they were writing that the Muslim community is worried in Delaware. The LGBT community is worried in Delaware. The Hispanic community is worried in Delaware. Story after story comes out. Before we came on the air, CNN had a psychologist on to talk about depression after the election. And I wonder if they would have had the psychologist on had Hillary Clinton won.
No, they would have had a celebratory event and high fives. I mean, there's the video of Wolf Blitzer when Hillary Clinton won the nomination, going into her room and they're all celebrating. He's got a glass of champagne in his hand. I mean, you know, so, you know, in 2008, when John McCain was running and we were out working for John McCain, I was actually on the ballot here in Delaware, and we lost. We lost everything. You know, veto-proof majorities in the U.S. Senate, Barack Obama elected president. You know, you didn't see Republicans taking to the streets and ripping our clothes and...
Well, let's stop for a second, because you said you didn't see Republicans taking to the streets. So do you think some of these protesters are manipulated?
I think these absolutely are manipulated. I think a President Trump is going to be a good, solid, great president and do the things that he campaigned on, which is, you know, make America great again, bring jobs to the, you know, back to the country, protect the border so that we know who's in the country, and give education choice. I mean, I think those are the things he ran on. And we want to have a culture, and that means knowing who's here. And I think that's a good thing.
I think one thing every president finds out, too, is some of the things they claim they were going to do, they get into office and they cannot do.
That's right. That's right. Or if you do it with an executive order, the next guy or gal can come in and undo it, which is, you know, happens every time.
And which it seems like it's going to happen this time. Sir, thank you so much. Appreciate you joining me. Charlie Copeland, chairman of the Republican Party in Delaware. When we come back, we will explain to you Brock's Law when the Delaware Way continues.